Turkey and Russia, for many years seen as strategic partners, are now experiencing a subtle but unmistakable shift in their relationship. On the surface, trade, energy pipelines, tourism, and even a Russian-built nuclear plant still suggest cooperation. But beneath that veneer lies a quieter realignment. Ankara is gradually loosening its dependency on Moscow, opening talks with non-Russian and Western energy suppliers, rerouting supply chains, and exploring new Black Sea maritime routes. In 2025, this shift is starting to generate underlying friction, not yet open conflict, but a recalibration of power. Recent incidents hint at a possible reshaping of regional maritime dynamics. Are we witnessing a realignment of control over the Black Sea, or the first tremors of a maritime rivalry? The story begins with a recent diplomatic flashpoint. A luxury Russian cruise liner full of holidaymakers was denied docking permission in Istanbul. The vessel, Astoria Grande, Russia's flagship international cruise ship, was carrying 616 passengers, mostly Russian citizens. It arrived at Istanbul's renowned Galata port on the 19th of November 2025, intending to dock, yet Turkish maritime authorities refused permission. The ship spent hours anchored off Sarayburnu, within sight of the old city skyline and the silhouette of the Hagia Sophia, but with no clearance to disembark. By dawn, the captain turned the vessel around and sailed back to Sochi. The planned stop in Istanbul was cancelled. The jubilant holidaymakers had to abandon the city's historic charm. No public explanation was offered. Turkish authorities provided no official statement. Russian media quickly interpreted the move as revenge. This incident only comes on the heels of another maritime spat. In early November, a test passenger ferry route between northeastern Turkey's port of Trabzon and Russia's resort city Sochi was initiated, the first in 14 years. The vessel, the Seabridge ferry, carried a small number of passengers from Trabzon to Sochi, but when it reached Russian waters, it was denied permission to dock. After 2 days waiting offshore, it had to return to Turkey. Around the same time, a Turkish-flagged gas tanker near Ukraine was damaged in a drone strike, triggering a major fire. The blast struck at the port of Izmail in Danube, Ukraine, a port used by international maritime trade, including Turkish vessels. The tanker, MT Arinda, caught fire after being hit by a Russian drone on the 17th of November 2025. The crew was evacuated safely, but the incident sparked evacuations across the nearby Romanian border, and the damage renewed questions about maritime security amid the war in Ukraine. No official response has been issued publicly by Ankara or Moscow about either the cruise ship denial or the tanker attack. But in the Black Sea region, where tourism, trade and geopolitics are closely intertwined, this string of incidents is hard to interpret as coincidence. Cruise liners now seem caught in the crossfire of a growing strategic recalibration. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Turkey is quietly reshaping its energy future. Its long-standing reliance on Russian gas and energy imports is being re-examined and increasingly diversified. Historically, Russia has been Turkey's largest gas supplier, but throughout 2025, a concerted push to diversify energy sources gathered momentum. Ankara signed long-term liquefied natural gas (LNG) deals with Western suppliers, expanded its domestic energy production and ramped up investments in renewables and nuclear power. In late September 2025, Turkey's state energy company BOTAŞ signed a 20-year LNG supply agreement with global commodity firm Mercuria. The deal is set to begin in 2026 and will deliver about 4 billion cubic meters BCM of LNG per year, roughly 70 BCM over its duration. These moves aren't a sign that Turkey wants to cut off Russia entirely. Ankara continues to import Russian gas via the key gas conduit Turk Stream under the Black Sea, and official statements insist that Russian supplies will continue uninterrupted for now. There is no problem with the security of natural gas supplies. Russia's supply continues uninterrupted and as planned, the government's communication directorate said in November 2025. But the strategic balance is clearly shifting. Analysts estimate Russia's share of Turkey's gas market has dropped from over 60% 2 decades ago to around 37% by early 2025. At the same time, Turkey is betting on its domestic resources, including newly discovered Black Sea gas fields and ramping up renewable energy capacity. This multi-pronged energy pivot, combining LNG imports, domestic production and renewables, reflects more than economics. It is a strategic hedging. Ankara seeks to reduce Moscow's leverage, bolster energy security and assert itself as a regional energy hub. Taken together, the maritime and energy developments paint a clear picture. Turkey is reframing its approach toward Russia, recalibrating from deep dependence to diversified autonomy. Some regional analysts now argue that Ankara is emerging as the new dominant maritime actor in the Black Sea, a role traditionally assumed by Moscow. They point to the cruise ship denials, the refusal of docking rights, the tanker attacks, and Turkey's more assertive energy posture as signs of a strategic repositioning underway. From Moscow's perspective, this reorientation is deeply unsettling. A Turkey that imports more LNG from the US, taps its own offshore gas, and develops renewable energy infrastructure is a Turkey that is less reliant on Russian pipelines and less amenable to Kremlin influence. Nuclear power plans tied to Russia, once viewed as the anchor of energy cooperation, now look increasingly expendable. For Ankara, the pivot is not only about self-reliance, it is also about strategic hedging in a region undergoing rapid geopolitical flux. By diversifying energy supply, building up maritime authority, and signalling readiness to shift away from Moscow without severing ties entirely, Turkey seems to want to preserve flexibility, the ability to maintain relationships with both East and West while safeguarding national interests. In short, Turkey and Russia today inhabit what might best be described as a grey zone, no longer close partners, but not yet adversaries. There remain overlapping interests, energy trade, regional security, economic ties, but increasingly those are being reframed as transactional, subject to competition, renegotiation and strategic realignment. In the Black Sea, once a corridor of cooperation, the map is being redrawn. And the side that controls maritime access, energy supply and port permissions may well define the broader Eurasian balance of power for years to come.